And greetings, everyone. I am Dr. Rochelle Gilbert, or Dr. Rowe, as she called me, the Executive Senior Director for the University Relations arm of the Office of the President. But more than that, I am honored to have this opportunity to be a part of the inspiring work that's happening here at Walden U. But more specifically, I am motivated by the diverse programs, services, and leadership opportunities we afford all of our students and alumni at our Walden. These events are created with your needs in mind. Our goal is to provide resources that assist you in identifying, clarifying, and achieving personal educational goals in and outside of the classroom. We are dedicated to providing you with initiatives, opportunities, and environments that educate, empower, and engage. This professional development session will broaden your skills on creating high-impact resumes. Our presenters will enlighten and encourage you using interactive engagement. Now, as you may or may not know, Walden's focus is on the social determinants of health this year. Achieving health equity requires valuing everyone equally with focused and ongoing societal efforts to address avoidable inequalities, historical and contemporary injustices, and the elimination of health and healthcare disparities. Strong resumes lead to more opportunities to make an impact in workplaces and communities that help us in mitigating social determinants of health challenges. So joining us here today are also Denise Pranke, Dina Bergeron, and Angie Lira from the Office of Career Planning and Development. Kayla Willis and Dr. Julie Canepa will also be assisting with technology. So join in wherever you can. Now, this workshop will run approximately an hour and a half, but you will receive a certificate of completion after the workshop in about 24 hours. Now you will hear from one of our amazing career planning and development team members, Denise Pranke, to get us started. Enjoy the session, and remember, we are Walden.
Thank you, Dr. Rowe, and hello, everyone. Did you know that resume writing is the #1 reason that students and alumni reach out to our department? And so that is why we're here today with you. We have so many questions, so many students that have questions about how to create that high impact resume. But before we dive into our topic, let's first learn a little bit more about career planning and development. So in addition to our many resume resources that we have for you, our website offers resources on topics ranging from career exploration, networking, job search, interview preparation, and much more. We also share career tips, motivation, and information through our social media sites, including our LinkedIn group, Twitter, and Facebook. And we invite you all to join our LinkedIn group and follow us on Twitter and Facebook on those social media channels. We also have a quick questionnaire on the homepage that you can complete to generate a customized list of resources tailored to your needs. And you have the option of scheduling a one-on-one career appointment with a career advisor. We also will share a list of resume resources with you later in the workshop. So next, as we start getting into our topic, we have a poll for you. So Kayla is going to launch a poll, and if you could please choose the answer that best describes you. I am interested in creating or updating my resume because I am transitioning into a new career field, or seeking career advancement in my current field, or searching for a similar job to my current or recent position, or not sure what I want to do next, but I know I want to have an updated resume. So if you could please let us know. Okay. All right. Great. It looks like a lot of you are transitioning into a new career field. And quite a few of you are also seeking advancement in your current field as well. And some of you are searching for a similar job. And some of you are just not sure next, but you know it's important to have an updated resume. So great. So hopefully there will be something of interest for all of you during the session. So Kayla, do we have any others coming in? Oh, maybe a few more. So it looks pretty like it's holding pretty steady, with the top one being transitioning into a new career field. So definitely touch on that. Okay, thank you so much for participating. So next, we're going to go on to our goals for the workshop. So we will examine the purpose of a resume and explore what makes a strong versus a weak resume. As Dr. Rowe said, a strong resume can help open doors for new opportunities where you can use your education and experience to make a broader impact in the workplace and communities. And then next, Dina will guide you through the steps to start building or updating your resume. And we'll also provide additional resources to help you, and you'll have an opportunity to share with other participants in a breakout room activity. And we'll take time for as many of your questions as possible. So please use that chat feature to ask your questions. Our team will be monitoring the chat. Next, we have another quick poll for you. Kayla's going to launch our second poll. So what statement do you think is correct? My resume should be generic, so that it shows my qualifications for as many different jobs as possible? Or do you think my resume should be tailored to show how I qualify for the job requirements of my target position? So what do you think is the right one here? Okay. That looks pretty good. So what do you think, Kayla? Are we ready to share that information?
I believe so. It looks
Okay.
like most individuals selected, my resume should be tailored to show how I qualify for the job requirements of my target position.
Great, thank you. And you're right. Yes, according to best practices in career development, you want to tailor your resume to target your position. And that's why we're going to talk about this on the next slide. So your resume is your marketing document. It should clearly and concisely describe who you are as a professional and show not only that you are qualified, but that you are one of the best qualified candidates for the specific position that you're applying for. So a generic document not tailored to the job qualifications won't stand out among the many other qualified candidates. Put yourself in the shoes of the hiring manager for just a minute. They have a specific position to fill with specific requirements. They want to interview only the applicants who they believe are the best match to the qualifications for the position. So you show that you're one of the best candidates by having an organized, polished resume that is tailored to showcase how you meet the qualifications for the targeted position. So at the top of the document, you want your header with your contact information. And then next, you want a brief summary of qualifications, and then either your experience or your education. And then additional sections such as professional affiliations or volunteer experience. In some situations, if you're making a career transition, as many of you indicated you are, Your volunteer experience might be more relevant than your professional experience, so you might want to put that first. So you might want to change the order a bit. Also, if you're making a career transition, you might want to move that education section up and have that education section right below your summary section, because your degree or your education might be your strongest qualification. So rather than have it at the end of the document, where it probably is more often, if you're in a career transition, might want to move it up. So keep in mind that there isn't only one right way to do this, but there are best practices. And so on the next slide, we're going to take a look at some of those best practices, both in regards to format and content. They're both important. So when formatting your document, rule number one is be consistent. So you want to use a 14 to 18 point font size for your name and an 11 to 12 point font size for content. Use common font styles such as Calibri, Arial, Verdana, Garamond, Helvetica, or Times New Roman, and keep your margins to about a 0.7 to 1 inch size. And minimize the use of color. A little bit of color is okay, but if you use too much color, it can be distracting. Also, you can use like bold, italicize, and bullet points, but avoid overusing those features, or your document can look cluttery. Keep the length to no more than 2 pages. Try not to have just a few lines go on to that second page. Try to have like a full 2 pages, or at least a page and a half if it's more than 1 page. And then regarding content, you want to have your content focus on your qualifications for the target job. You want to be clear and concise, and you want to use keywords from the job description and your industry. So really analyze that job description, looking for those keywords. Include accomplishments, not just a list of duties and responsibilities. You want it to reflect who you are as a professional. If you're looking for a leadership position, as many of you indicated, you are interested in career advancement, be sure to show where you took initiative, where you led problem or you solved problems, where you made decisions, where you took on a leadership role. Also, avoid using personal pronouns such as I, me, and my. Start by using bullet points with an action verb, or start your bullet points with an action verb. That the career resources we're going to share with you later has a really great list of action verbs to help you. You want to use present tense for current positions and past tense for past positions. And then finally, double and triple check your spelling. It's so easy to miss something. So next, we have a quick, or not a quick, but we have a fun activity. It might go fairly quickly, but next we have a fun activity, and I'm going to turn my camera off for this because I'm going to be looking at my other, I have 2 monitors, so I'm going to be looking at my other monitor. So if you can take a look at the top half of Tamara's resume that we have showing here, and if you can use the chat to share what you think Tamara could do better. Where could she improve this resume, or what is off? You know, thinking about those best practices that we just talked about. What could Tamara do better? And Angie's going to share with us what you have in the chat. So Angie, do we have anything?
Yeah, we already got some great ideas. So Janice mentioned that she should align the dates to make sure that everything is concise and consistent.
Right. If we look over here on the side here, and then, yeah, the dates are all jagged, so it gives that unprofessional look. And also over here, it's not really lined up. Absolutely. That gives it that kind of a sloppier look, not the professional look we're going for. What else?
Pamela mentioned that the graph looks a little kittywampus.
Okay, the table here.
Mm-hmm. The bar,
Okay.
she had mentioned as bar graph, but I believe, yes, the table.
Mhm.
And either a few people mentioned maybe add more skills.
Right, and maybe not have them in a table. And Dina's going to talk about that a little bit in the presentation as well. That it's probably best practices to avoid having things in a table, but you can definitely have a skills section. That's great. But yeah, there isn't a lot here. I mean, Excel presentations. Someone might not know what SPS is an organization, and then there's just that blank box there with nothing in it, and it's like, doesn't she have, you know, at least one more to add there as well? Anything else?
A few people have mentioned that it looks like there might be more than one font at play here.
Yes, absolutely. Here we've got in the Bachelor of Biology, looks like it's Times New Roman, and the rest looks like maybe it is Calibri. So again, it doesn't have that polished professional look in terms of the formatting. So there we have both formatting issues and content issues going on here. So is everything spelled right? Did she?
No,
there
a few people have mentioned that there are some spelling errors here, as well as spacing errors.
Yes, it just, so the certifications, there's a that's misspelled. And, you know, it's easy to miss that. It's hard to proofread our own work, but definitely misspelled. And those are sometimes the deal breaker kind of errors. Sometimes with formatting, you know, you might be able to get by with a little bit, but, you know, something that stands out like this would not be good.
Andrew brings up a great point, which is it's important to watch the abbreviations because the standard person might not know what MTD is, for example.
Yes, exactly. So this, Tamara says, managed a team of customer service reps for MTD. And it's like, well, the reader very likely may not know what that is. And so it's not as interesting and intriguing. We want this document to inspire someone to say, oh, I'd love to meet Tamara. Let's call her. She looks like a good fit. So when we don't know what MTD is, it's not as it's not as interesting.
Princessa has a great point, which is that Tamara didn't use past tense for her previous job.
Right, she didn't use past tense. Yeah, exactly. She said, let's see, for this position she has used, and created and prepared, but she has this community outreach efforts right here, and she uses this personal pronoun, and then she has this phrase like community outreach efforts. And what about those efforts? What were maybe the results of those efforts? How did she do it? Exactly. Yeah, there's some content issues here. And then she has community outreach here. And then she also says community outreach efforts. So there's some redundancy there. And it's not really clear for the reader. What does she mean by that?
And just general formatting issues, Doran pointed out that the column identifiers were not consistent. So the skills and organization should be on the same line as, or I'm sorry, the skills and the organization should be on the same line is what she commented. Oh, I see what you mean.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, it's confusing. I see. I think what here she intends to say that she has good organizational skills, but that is confusing for the reader. Absolutely. And then how about this coached high school football? Is that really relevant for what she is probably wanting to do next? It could be, you know, maybe it's a job where she's going to be working with kids around some public health issue. So it could be, but that is the question. Is it relevant for her target audience, for that hiring manager? When that person looks at this, you want that summary is really a high value area. It's your introduction. So you really want to use that section as well. And then I know, Angie, you said like the formatting, you know, we've got this summary is different from education, is different from here, which is different from the skills. So again, it doesn't have that professional look. So I really appreciate everyone's feedback. Do we have any last comments or how before we move on?
I think we covered
Did
most
we?
of
Oh,
them.
great. Okay, fantastic. So I want to thank everyone for participating in this activity. And also, you know, as I'm going to turn it over to Dina, and she's going to walk us through the steps of building that high impact, really a resume that is both formatted properly and has really engaging content as well. So I'm going to, with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dina.
Thank you, Denise, and hello, everyone. And I'm excited to lead the next activity. And I'd like for you to prepare for this activity by opening up your resume template that we will be using to build a high impact resume. Angie will add the link to the template into the chat for your convenience, and also a Word document just in case you're having any trouble with the link. It is also right up on your slide here. And after you open this template, you want to save a copy of the template to your desktop. All right, let me see here. So I'm gonna give a moment here for Angie to include those materials, which I see that she has. And what we'll do for the next 30 minutes or so is I'm going to improve the format in the bad resume example that Denise just went over and create a much better version of it in this template that you will be using. So you are welcome to follow along by inserting your own information into the template and start building your resume together with us. And now what I'll do is pause for just a moment to pull up the template. And as I do so, Kayla will launch another poll for us to help plan for an upcoming activity. So take a moment to complete the poll and pull up the template from your end. And I will do the same from my end here as well. All right, so you should see the poll up and indicate what program or area are you most interested in. And this will help Kayla, who's going to later set up our breakout rooms. Meanwhile, you should also see a template that appeared right in front of you on the slide, and that is the template we'll be using together. All right, so we'll give it just a moment more for all of you to be able to complete the poll, and Kayla can then share the results. It's interesting to see the interest areas and programs of our students and alumni who are joining us here today.
Awesome. It looks like most of you all are in social and behavioral sciences. Next up, we have management, IT, and health sciences, followed by education.
Awesome. So we have a wide range of programs and interests today, which is as expected because our students are involved in all of these areas. So that's excellent. All right, so I think that we are ready to begin our activity at this time. So looking at the template, and all of you should see the template up on the screen, you can start filling out the contact information. So your name, phone number, email, location, and if you'd like, you can include a portfolio or professional website. So our sample person, her name, of course, is Tamara, and we're going to put her name in, and you can go ahead and put your own name in to your template if you'd like to follow along with us. And then we're going to put in a phone number. So we're going to go ahead and put in a phone number right here, and you can put in your own phone number. Now, for your phone number, you want to make sure that you have a professional sounding voice message on your phone in case potential employers contact you. So that is really important. So if you provide a phone number, you also want to make sure to check your voice message box and make sure that it is not full. All right. Then we're gonna add the email address right in there. And you want to make sure that you include a professional sounding email address. So avoid a work email address or one that sounds silly or one that sounds unprofessional. So a Gmail address is appropriate here. All right. And then also, of course, you can add your mailing address. And if you're applying online, you don't need the full address, but you can include your city, state, or zip. Or if you'd like, if you prefer, you can include your full address as well. All right. And then on this line, as I mentioned earlier, a portfolio or a professional website can be added. And for some fields, this is something that is really helpful to collect artifacts of your work and be able to present those. Or you could also include your LinkedIn profile here. So Tamara has a very well-developed LinkedIn profile, so she's going to add it right there. So what I'm going to do moving forward is just stop after each section and see if there are any questions related to that section. So do we have any questions about the contact information?
No questions about the contact information so far, but let me give it a moment.
Okay, thank you, Angie. And as we're doing this, I also want to mention a few things about the template itself. And the reason that we chose this very simple template today is because the formatting is very consistent in this document, and there are very helpful directions and instructions that are included. Also, you could see there is bold used for section titles and the most important information in this document. The margins are between 0.7 and 1 inch, as Denise was sharing with us earlier. This document that we're looking at is 1 page in length, but your document may be longer, so feel free to extend it to 2 pages. And finally, this template is designed to go through applicant tracking systems. So these are computer programs that are used by many organizations to screen applicants. And we'll discuss what this means right after today's activity. So with that, do we have any additional questions about the contact information?
No questions about the contact information so far.
Okay, thank you, Angie. And one thing that Tamara could do, she is currently pursuing her program, her master's in public health. But if she was an alum, she could add her highest degree earned after her name. So she could add MPH after her name if she already graduated from her program. So it could look something like this. So that's something to think about. And after your degree is validated or conferred by Walden University, you can add it after your name. Okay, perfect. So now we're going to go on to the next section, which is the summary. Your professional summary is one of the most important sections for your resume. It is sometimes also called a career profile, a career summary, or a summary of qualifications. And its main purpose is to let your reader know briefly and concisely what is it that you have to offer. In other words, it is a summary of how you would add value to a potential employer or opportunity that you're seeking through your experience, through your accomplishments, through your top skills and strengths, and even knowledge areas from your academic program. All of those can be highlighted in the summary. The summary can also be in a bulleted format, or it can be in a paragraph form. It can be 2 to 3 sentences as your template suggests, or it can be a little bit longer. And we actually recommend about 4 to 5 sentences in the summary to make it a little bit more robust. Your summary should also be tailored toward the specific position or opportunity that you're applying for. So let's take a look at Tamara's summary and what that looks like. All right. Oh, something was is a little bit off. So let me fix that real quick. And let's try again. Let's paste in her summary. Here we go. All right, so looking at the summary itself, there are a few things that you will notice. Community-centered professional with broad experience in public health, healthcare, community services, and research. So this is what we call a branding statement. You can see that Tamara sums up all of her areas of expertise in that one sentence. Now, she is a transitioner, a career transitioner into the public health field. So she left it fairly broad by saying professional with broad experience. But let's say you are someone who already has substantial experience in your field. You could also quantify your experience. So you could list your years of experience right in that summary. She also highlights some areas that she's very interested in and committed to, and she highlights areas of expertise, including statistical analysis, data reporting, and building community partnerships. She highlights her MPH degree that she's completing, and also she is highlighting her practicum along with the experience in her practicum. And that last sentence, she is highlighting some knowledge areas from her academic program. So she might not have a lot of experience yet in program development and evaluation, but she is using language that indicates she has knowledge in that area, strong understanding of public health program development and evaluation. So think about what you would insert in your summary section. And meanwhile, let's open it up for any questions. So Angie, do we have any questions about the summary section?
We have a couple of questions. So Deshaun mentioned, is this the best place to, the summary, is that the best place to highlight your education if you're still in your classes and you haven't graduated yet?
Yes, she could. It's actually, we can change it to completing, right? If she's in the middle of completing her MPH, mentioning it there can be very helpful, especially if you're a career transitioner. And we're actually going to talk about the education section and how to actually emphasize your education and organize that section as well. And we'll get to that section very shortly here. But if you are a career transitioner without a lot of experience in your future field, we strongly recommend adding some knowledge areas from your academic program, or even some of your coursework that you've completed, so that you're not only emphasizing your work experience and your transferable skills from prior roles, but you're also emphasizing what you've learned, the knowledge that you've gained in your academic program. I hope that helps answer that question.
Yes, and Kara had kind of a general question. Is there a certain amount of years that you should limit yourself to on a document like a resume so that you don't seem overqualified?
We typically say go back 10 to 15 years on your resume. But as far as being overqualified, you want to make sure that you're matching your skills and qualifications to the position that you're targeting. So the more you can match your skills, the more keywords that you can include, for instance, in your summary, and we'll talk about the experience section as well, the stronger your document is going to be. So whatever experience you had in the past, you want to highlight and emphasize that experience that's most relevant to your job target, and de-emphasize experience that might not be such a great match or may not be relevant to your job target. Great question.
Francine had a good question. She was talking about how to summarize a specific program, but could you potentially just give us some ideas about what types of information you would put here? Would you focus mostly on skills, on accomplishments, on responsibilities?
Yeah, so this professional summary is exactly what it sounds like. It sums up your greatest skills, accomplishments, areas of expertise, knowledge areas related to your job target. So in this case, Tamara's areas of expertise, she has some public health knowledge, but she also has a background in healthcare, community services, and research. And we're assuming that the position she's applying for in public health is requiring skills in these areas. So she is specifically highlighting her experience that should match what they're seeking. So a public health position, probably research is important, data collection, right? And reporting, and also building those community partnerships. So she's choosing those elements from her experience that are most aligned to highlight them here. Excellent. All right, so maybe we'll take one more question. I know we have a large audience here today, and I want to make sure that we can get through the other sections as well. But any other thoughts or questions about the summary?
Oh, well, Deshaun had another interesting question. How can you avoid making the professional summary sound like the cover letter? Or maybe what are the best distinguishing characteristics between the two of them?
So the cover letter is used to really let the employer know how your skills match what they're looking for, but also how, even more specifically, how you can add value. So the summary is very short. It's just 4 to 5 sentences max is what we recommend. But in a cover letter, you can elaborate on some of these areas of expertise. Like Tamara in a cover letter could showcase her, more of her knowledge of statistical analysis and how she could use that knowledge and data reporting and building community partnership to impact that specific organization. So in the cover letter, you're tailoring even more toward that employer. And our website has many resources on cover letters as well. And Angie will share a resource list later on in the program that could lead you to our Resumes and More tab and additional resources to help with that as well. Perfect. All right, well, let's go on to our next section, which is skills. It's very much directly related to the summary section as well. So let's add a few skills to the resume, and also at your end, also add your skills. So in this template, there are different skills levels, and you might wonder, well, is the difference between intermediate, advanced, or expert skills? Well, intermediate skills are ones that you can do well, but maybe not as quickly. And advanced skills are ones that you can do well and also quickly. And expert skills are those type of skills that maybe you perform them for many, many years, or maybe you're even teaching those skills to others. So for Tamara, she's just going to highlight a few skills, but you can definitely highlight much more than this. And your skills should, again, match the job posting. Here we go. So she has some advanced skills in Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, and SPSS. So any questions about skills?
No questions about skills so far.
Excellent. Yes, that's a section
I have
fairly
a question.
easy. Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
You have, yeah, you can have some skills that are soft skills and doesn't look like this one. For instance, like a counselor can say he has some excellent interpersonal skills. So do you need to put it there?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Thank you for asking this one. And we typically suggest including very specific skills and preferably hard skills over soft skills. And let me tell you why. Because you want to avoid general skills such as like team player or strong communication skills, because those very general skills, they don't differentiate you from others. Remember that your purpose is to stand out from your competition. And so for that reason, the more specific you can get with your skills, the better. So instead of strong communication skills, you know, maybe focusing on some communication technology, or later in the document, including like some training or courses that you've taken in communication skills. So the more specific you can get, most of the time, the better. But that's a great question. All right, so are we ready to go on to the next section?
We actually have a good question here in the chat.
Oh, great.
And that's from Nicole, who asked, does the career site have lists of examples of hard skills or expert skills or potential skills that people might want to integrate into their document?
Oh, that is such a great question. ONET Online is a fantastic website. So if you just Google search ONET Online, they have lists of occupations, and you can search for your occupation, and there will be all kinds of skills that are listed there. So ONET Online is a great way to identify those skills, but also review job postings for the type of positions that you are interested in. And you'll see a pattern. You'll see the type of skills that are needed in your specific field or area. All right. So I think we're ready for the next one, but before we work on experience, I want to mention that resume sections can be rearranged in order of importance. And Denise mentioned this as well. How you rearrange the sections depends on the purpose of your resume and also on the person's level of expertise. So in our example, Tamara is transitioning into the public health field. Therefore, she might want to move her education section before her experience section to further highlight her public health education. And you might do that as well. If you're a career transitioner, and especially, but you know, if you want to emphasize your Walden program a little bit more, you can just go into your template and just paste in the education section before your experience section. So look at that. And let's align it a little bit here. Okay. So let's take a look at how Tamara listed her current Master of Public Health degree and also the bachelor's in biology that she had completed earlier. So this is what hers looks like. Right. So you'll notice here, she lists her degree and she uses bold so it stands out. She lists her expected graduation date because she's not finished with her program yet. If you are an alumna or alumnus, you could just simply put your graduation year here. So you don't need this. You can just put 2022. And then she graduated with her Bachelor of Science in Biology, so she put that date. So she did not include a date range of when she was a student, but instead she's putting her graduation year and month. And the month, this is just a style preference. You don't really need the month unless you want to, but if you include the month, be consistent. And then she includes her university, Walden, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Our accreditation is in Minnesota, so that would be appropriate for the address. And so she now has a nice education section. So let's open it up for any questions about education. And hopefully from your end, if you are working along with us, you're also inserting your degrees into the template and working on the prior sections that we have been working on together. And remember, you don't have to fill out the entire document, but if you can get started today, I think this will help you in the long run.
Nicole has a good question. If you graduated with honors, would that go under education or would that go in a separate section?
That is a great question as well. So Tamara had some honors and she's going to put them in a separate section called honors and awards. So when we talk about the additional sections and go over those, I'll show you how that's done. But she has several honors. But let's say she just had one honor. She could just put it right here. So let's say she actually in her undergraduate degree, she graduated with honors and she could put it, you know, on the third line here. And she could put something like graduated, you know, let's see, graduated summa cum laude. Okay. And then honors should be in italics like that. So it could look something like this for her. So either if you have multiple honors, you can have them in a separate section or you can put them in education. And that's really a style preference. And depending on how many honors you have. Any other questions or thoughts about the education section?
No, I think we can move on.
Perfect. Okay. All right. So we worked on the education and now we're going to dive into the experience section of the document. In this section, you want to list your positions in reverse chronological order with your most recent position listed first. So you can think about your current position if you're currently employed or a past position that you had and include the title, company name. If you want, you can also include the company's city and state, and that's optional. And then the date range. So the dates that you were employed or your starting date till present, right? Start date dash present if you're currently working in a position. So next, you also want to add your accomplishment statements, and strong accomplishment statements start with strong action verbs. And then you want to provide specific details and focus on outcomes or results of your efforts as much as possible. So this is a really nice instructions in the template that you can use to start forming your accomplishment statements. But as we do this, let's take a look at what Tamara did, because she made some really good accomplishment statements. So let's see what they look like. So I'm going to take a second and paste in. I'm going to just leave that last one for your reference if you'd like to look at that. Okay, so you can see here, and for consistency, we can help Tamara a little bit and make sure that her titles are consistent here. And she completed a public health practicum. So she put that in her experience section. And let's look at her first accomplishment. So this is a really strong accomplishment because it starts with a strong action verb. She provides very specific details here. 5 EPA staff members of the Pesticides Division on developing, implementing, and monitoring the School Information Pest Management Program. And then she also indicates the outcome, the result, why she was doing what she was doing. It's to reduce vector-borne illnesses. So she is using that formula to create some really strong accomplishment statements in her document. So I encourage all of you to keep working on that and referring to the template and work on developing at least one accomplishment today. What would you focus on and what would you highlight? Great. And next, there is something you can do with your experience section that can be very helpful if you are trying to emphasize certain experience and then de-emphasize other experience. So one thing she could do is split her experience section into 2 separate sections. And this will allow her to emphasize certain experiences over others. So let's change the title of her experience section to Public Health Experience. So her public health experience is here. Then let's also start a different section, and we're going to call it Additional Experience. So remember that experience has to be listed in reverse chronological order. So she doesn't want to list this first. She wants her public health experience first. So by dividing and splitting the section into 2 sections, she's able to highlight her public health experience first and foremost. And then she lists her other experience in the other experience section. So let's stop here and see if we have any questions about the experience section.
Yeah, Andrew's got a great question. How would you list promotions within the same organization? So for example, if you were in a director role and then a supervisor role.
That is a fantastic question. Okay, let's move to the additional experience section and kind of demo a little bit what that would look like. So let's say you want to show career progression within the same organization. So what you would do is list the employer first, and then you can kind of list the positions under the employer. So see how now there's the employer first, not the job title, but the employer itself. And then you don't need to repeat the employer here. And you can just move this over. Now you can play with the formatting and make it a little bit nicer than I'm doing here during this demonstration, but you could see how that would look. So you could kind of move it over under that section. So that's how you would do it. And that's a great way to organize your document. If you received a few promotions, if you'd like to show progression, or if you've worked in one company for a very long time and held multiple roles and you want to showcase that. And then you can also, as I mentioned, you can put the city and state if you'd like, and that's optional. Do we have any more questions?
Yeah, how would you handle a situation where you had very little work experience, or the work experience that you did have was not as relevant? For example, if you were looking for a public health job, but you have experience as a cashier, for example.
Then I would probably put the experience under additional experience. If it's a cashier position, I would probably just put, you know, the position itself, the employer, city, state, and the date, and I would remove the bullet points. So I would just list the position without the bullet points. But there, of course, then the question is, what would you highlight? Well, then I would expand on my education, maybe have a section called graduate coursework, and include volunteer experience, or maybe a practicum or internship if you have a field experience component in your program. So placing more emphasis on your education and coursework, and kind of listing those positions, but de-emphasizing them at that point. And of course, if you're in that position, you want to be gaining experience. So if you don't have paid experience, the next best thing is volunteer experience. So get out there, try to engage in skills-based volunteering. Nonprofit organizations really need help, and contact some large nonprofits. And many times they have volunteer programs even right there, and get involved and start building those skills. And our department also has many resources for volunteer opportunities and optional internships for students who do not have an internship or practicum component to their program. So check out the Career Planning and Development website for more resources to help you build experience. All right, should we take one more?
There was a question about finding sample resumes.
Excellent
Where would be
question.
a good spot to find sample resumes?
Yes, absolutely. So if you go to Career Planning and Development website, we have an entire Resumes and More tab. And Angie is going to share a resource list with you. And there will be links to the Resumes and More tab. We also have Optimal Resume. It has over 500 resume templates. And if you visit the Optimal Resume homepage, you can actually view those templates right on the homepage. So there's lots of resources on our site for resume writing, and you'll receive a resource list with all of those that you can access today. Perfect. All right, so I think we're ready now to go to the additional sections. So no matter what template you decide to use, you want to make sure that the template is your own. So in this case, awards, recognitions, and volunteer work are all grouped together. But for Tamara's resume, let's split the section into 2 sections. And also let's add 2 additional sections that are not even on this template, because we want to make sure that her expertise and experience is accounted for. So let's go ahead and we're gonna delete this volunteer experience. And what we're gonna do is add a separate volunteer experience section for Tamara, because her volunteer experience directly relates to the public health field. She volunteered as a community educator for Alzheimer's Association and is currently doing so. So for that reason, because it is relevant experience, she has some accomplishment statements that she is highlighting because they're related to public health. And remember in the summary, she mentioned that she has experience building community partnerships. You know, she gained this experience through her volunteering. So going back to what I mentioned earlier, if you don't have paid experience, find some ways that you can volunteer and build that experience and build your resume. She does have some awards and recognitions. And we mentioned one of them earlier, and she has another one. So she has two. So because she has two, she can create a section. So here we go. She has a service award that she's very proud of, and she graduated summa cum laude. So she created a separate section for that. Now, public health field certifications are important. So she'll add another section called certifications, and she'll highlight some of her certifications there. So this is an extra section that she's added. Finally, Tamara is a leader who's involved in professional associations. So she wants to highlight her active engagement. So here we go. We've added a affiliation section. She's a member of the American Public Health Association, which is the professional association in her field. And she also volunteered for a virtual conference. She was a committee member, so she highlighted that. And she's a member of the National Society for Leadership and Success. So any questions about the additional sections of resume?
No questions.
All right, so think about what additional sections you will add to your document. And thank you everyone for your wonderful questions and feedback. And I must say that Tamara's resume is looking much better these days, and I'm sure that yours is starting to look great too. So next, we will tell you more about applicant tracking systems. But first, let's go ahead and move this over, get to our next slide, and start our next poll. On average, how many resumes are received for a posted corporate job opening according to an article in Forbes? What do you think? Take a moment to insert your responses, and then Kayla will share our results. Oh, I think over 150 is winning. What do you think, Kayla?
I believe so. That's what's coming in first.
Awesome. All right, we'll give it just a little bit more time. All right, let's stop sharing and share the results. Okay, perfect. Wow, 79% over 50. That's awesome. You are so right. Absolutely. That is the correct answer. It's really hard to believe, but it is very, very true, especially on general job search boards and job boards. This is very common. And as many of you know, after you submit your resume for a position, it is likely to be read by a computer before it is read by an actual person. And these systems are called applicant tracking systems, or ATSs. There are dozens of ATSs out there, and companies use these systems to manage their incoming applicants and also to sort them and rank them by perceived fit. So while you definitely want to make sure your resume is appealing to a person, you also want to make sure that it's appealing to a computer system so you can get your resume to that next step for an interview. So this is why we chose a very simple template that is ATS friendly for the previous activity. I know there are many jazzy templates out there, but really the #1 goal is to get through those ATS systems. And to do that, remember to keep the formatting very simple. Fancy formats, images, shapes will not be translated by the computer very well. And that makes sense, right? But other less obvious formatting is also difficult to read by ATSs. And those could be tables or boxes and columns. And these formatting features make it very difficult for ATSs to read the document. And they may miss some of your most important qualifications. Also, since anything you put in the header or footer, such as your contact information, will not be read, put everything into the body of the document. So don't use headers and footers when you complete your applications. And finally, make sure your resume is tailored, right? Applicant tracking systems are looking for keywords in your resume to find matches. So the more you can highlight your relevant skills in your resume, the more likely you will make it past the computer and to an actual human who will look at your document. We hope that this program has provided you the basic tools to create a high impact resume. And our website also has additional resources to help you finish and refine your resume. So a few of these resources are highlighted on the slide, and we mentioned some of those earlier. They include the Resumes and More tab. We have resume samples and optimal resume, a webinar on writing a winning resume, and a video tutorial marketing your qualifications. Your resource list that Angie has provided you will also have additional resources and articles to help you enhance your resume writing skills. So download that resource list. It's going to be extremely helpful for you after this program. And also, of course, there are many resources outside of Walden. There are templates in Microsoft Word that you can use in a pinch. But again, make sure they're ATS friendly. Live Career also has a variety of samples and templates with a builder you can check out. And JobScan, that is an excellent site. We recommend the site to help you match your skills. So check out JobScan. And these resources, along with a list of helpful action verbs, are all available on your resource list. All right, so now for one final activity, it's time to interact with your colleagues. We have set up 3 breakout rooms that are focused around Walden programs and interest areas. We had some great discussions and questions in the breakout rooms, and also we have just a few minutes for a Q&A. I know we had a lot of questions also during the activities, but if there are any last thoughts or questions, please feel free to chat. Use the chat function and type those in. And Angie, do we have any questions coming in?
No, we don't. Not yet.
Okay. Well, I think probably we can wrap up. If there's a last question, let me know. But I know that we've answered many questions throughout this program. And before we wrap up today, I would like to share the PowerPoint slides along with the resource list again to help you continue enhancing your resume. So Angie will upload the PowerPoint and the resource list for us. And thank you everyone for joining us here today. We invite you to continue engaging in your career development by visiting our website, by scheduling a career advising appointment. You can reach out to our team via email if you'd like, or follow us on social media. And also, we encourage you to read articles and success stories on our blog. Finally, we'd like to get your feedback on today's program. So please take a moment to complete a short evaluation survey to let us know how we did. And you can access the survey by simply scanning the QR code on the slide with your phone. So take out your phone. I have my phone right here. And if you bring it right to the QR code that is on the slide, you'll see a link there to complete a survey. But for your convenience, Angie is also adding a link in the chat.
And while we're waiting for them to fill out that survey, they did have a question. So if there is a job that you feel like is not as relevant to the position you're applying for, should you just leave it off?
Put it under the additional experience. So you should still list it if it, we say go back 10, 15 years on your resume. But just create a short additional experience section, and you don't even have to create accomplishment statements. You can just simply list the title of the position, the employer, city, state, and date range. So it's still on your resume, but you de-emphasize it. You don't focus on it. You focus on more relevant experience and academic knowledge.
And that way you don't have a gap too, which is nice.
Yes, exactly. That's also really good as well. Great point. All right. So hopefully everyone had a chance to grab this link and complete the survey and let us know how we did. We'll give it just a few more seconds here. And I just want to thank you for taking time today out of your very busy schedules to learn about effective resume writing. And also thank you to Denise Pranke. Thank you to Angie Lira from the Career Planning and Development team. Thank you to Dr. Julie Canepa and Kayla Willis from Academic Affairs. And thank you, Dr. Rowe from the Office of the President, for all of your contributions to this program. I hope everyone has a wonderful evening.